Hello there. As I did my lighting build guide before, in this one I won't be talking from level 1 builds, as it's easier to level up as lighting. What I'm going to talk here instead is skill build for shadow and rotation with the gear after finishing starter line up to the end game. Let's begin. With the last patch you can disable some skills that might be annoying since they overlap other skills. As you can disable only 5 skills, it's up to you which one you choose, but I'm going to talk about the most annoying ones. First one is Venom Pierce, that most of the times will proc after your Decay counter. As it doesn't proc your Raven or Arousal buff, it has way lower DPS than Heartstab. It also puts global cooldown on most of other skills. You can use it on early levels to help you stack poison, but on endgame gear you want to disable it for sure. Another skill is webbing. There will be a lot of times when you have KD mechanics or aerial mechanics and you want to go out of the stealth in the same time. But instead, you're gonna web enemy and bug the mechanics of the boss as it will not do the get up animation. Quad Break is the skill that overlaps your heartstab whenever enemy is blocking. As for most of the bosses it's never gonna proc, there's still some, for example Acrimol, that will make you use it, so make sure you disable it for it. Double Time overlaps your Shadow Drain when the target is restrained or grabbed by the BD or the Destroyer. You want to disable it for most of the times when you play the Lighting build, but for the Shadow build I would keep it. Bolt Strike can be annoying when you have spikes while playing Lighting build. As you press your free, it can also register as you click it twice and proc your Shadow Slash into the Bolt Strike. I got baited a couple of times because of it and died on Zulia. Sweeping Gale is basically the same as the webbing, as it's on the same key. You don't want to aerial the stunned bosses as you can't DPS them while they're flying, so make sure you disable it. Last one is Acrid Star. It overlaps your X-Stealth, Chi-Smoke or X-Dagger, and it's mostly annoying in PvP, but in some bosses like Numok in Drowning Deeps it can be annoying as well, so disable it. Okay, now let's talk about the skill build for the Shadow. Mist Move 1 gives you more chi than the Move 2, and it doesn't proc the Venom Pierce. As for the earlier game, you can pick the Move 2 to help you stack poison, but on endgame you wanna go for the Move 1 for sure. Landmine, your double KD or the Mountain's AoE range skill, just depending on the gear or the mechanics. Heartstab is your main DPS skill on low gear as well as an endgame gear. You also want to get the Hangmoon skill of it, and for that you need the Chilling Flame elixir. Decay Move 1 allows you to proc the party stealth. Also, the Daze version is pretty much useless even in PvP, so always make sure to spec the Move 1. Venom Slash is one of your main poison stacking skills on low gear. It's also going to be your endgame rotation skill, so make sure you spec it. Shadow Drain is your first chi recovery skill. It also stacks 1 poison, and most of the times it will be your main skill. You wanna use it to finish poison stacking and go back to your rotation. Choke Bomb stacks 5 poison stacks immediately. It also has way faster animation than Poison Breath, and you can also cancel that, which results in way higher DPS. Chi-Smoke is gonna be the best option here, as you stay mostly out of the stealth and you don't have the projectile protection as you do while being in stealth. It also gives you really good chi recovery. Dark Strike is your second most damaging skill that you're gonna use really often to stack Heartstab attack speed buff, and it's also gonna be main DPS for the Shadow Tiger build. Lightning Rod is your third chi recovery skill that you wanna use it whenever you have already 5 poison stacks on the enemy. Go back to your rotation without having to worry about the focus problems. Lotus Fury is your longest resistance skill that can last up to 3 seconds, but can be cancelled with any other skill that resists only for the first second duration and come back to your rotation. Fighting Spirit, aka Blue Buff, is your main source of DPS on endgame gear while going for the Dragon Bracelet build. Always make sure you have it spec'd. Now let's talk about the rotation. Most important thing about the Shadow build is that you have to stack 5 poison stacks on enemy to be able to maximize your DPS. There are a couple ways to stack poison fast, along with getting the chi recovery skill at the end. First one is Choke Bomb into the Chi Smoke into RMBF. Use LMB whenever you are running out of the chi. It is the fastest way to stack poison, so always make sure you use it whenever possible. Next ones are similar to each other and you want to use them whenever you don't have the Choke Bomb. The fastest way to stack poison whenever you don't have the Choke Bomb is Venom Slash into Hook Kick, into Shadow Drain, into Shadow Kick, into RMBF. Another one is Mind Toss into Venom Slash into Hook Kick into Lightning Rod. Do mind you can cancel the Mind Toss animation with the Venom Slash. Last one is Venom Slash into the Hook Kick into X Dagger into Lightning Rod. You can also use the Venom Pierce instead of X Dagger as it's gonna be faster, but I wouldn't recommend using this at all in the end game. As you know poison stacking, let's talk about RMBF for now. Whenever you use Dark Strike, it procs the heart stab attack speed buff. It stacks up to 10 times, and when it reaches 10 it changes into heart stab attack speed buff, which allows you to use 3 heart stabs in 1 second. It is the same speed as the Dragon Bracelet buff or Awakened Heart Stab on Soulburn. You want to get advantage of this only for the Dragon build, as the Tiger build gets most of the DPS from the Dark Strike. You can disable some buff effects like Neck, Soul proc or CT, weapon stacks, etc to help you see that buff. If you don't want to do that, you can keep your eye on the heart sub icon and you get that buff once it pops out with the highlight. Alright, let's talk about gearing and rotations. You can now think about which gear you want to go for. There are 2 builds for Shadow. First one is Shadow Dragon. It has huge burst, especially with the Warlock's Soulburn, but has lower constant DPS. Second one is Shadow Tiger. It has low burst but has really good constant DPS, and this build is basically the same as the Lighting build with the exception that you don't need to be in stealth, which makes it easier to play. But in the same time it has lower burst as well as the constant DPS than Lighting because of it. It's around 20% total. After Storyline, your gear should have already 8 set MSP and Baleful Dagger. With that gear, your rotation wants to use as many Mind Tosses as possible. So your rotation goes like this. Chuck Bomb, into Blue Buff, into Mind Toss, into Optional Time Bomb, into Lightning Rod, into RMBF. Then after your poison stacks disappear, you go for the Venom Slash, into Hook Kick, into Shadow Drain, into Shadow Kick, into RMBF. You can use LMB whenever you feel like you're running out of chi. And of course use the Mind Toss whenever it's off cooldown. Now let's talk about the badges. As for Shadow Dragon build, you want to get either Holy Fire or Alluvion Soul badge. I recommend Alluvion as you want to fuse it later on to Ancestral. And also to make your build valuable you need the Divine Dragon Bracelet as well as the Revelation Mystic badge. With those items, your rotation becomes Chuck Bomb, into Blue Buff, into either Shadow Kick or Lightning Rod, into RMB Hold. Chuck Bomb, into She Smoke, into RMBF. When you have that buff, just hold your RMB. Into Poison Stacking and repeat. As you have low gear, you might have some chi problems, so you don't necessarily need to hold your RMB whenever you have the buff. And later on, if you get Ancestral but don't get your Aransu, you can change your Revelation Mystic badge into the Skyrift Mystic badge. As for Shadow Tiger build, you want to get Glory Soul badge, Skyrift Mystic badge, and Tiger Bracelet. With those, Shadow Tiger rotation looks like this. Chuck Bomb, into Blue Buff, into Shadow Kick, into Venom Slash, into RMBF. Then Chuck Bomb, into Venom Slash, and repeat. And this is actually your endgame Shadow Tiger rotation, even with the Vortex gear. As you can also see, Shadow rotation is way easier to play, but it might be a bit boring. If it comes to gearing, you want to get PT 8 set Soul Shields as soon as possible, as well as the Shadow Earring and the Shadow Ring. In process, you also want to get your Ravens, at least stage 3, as it's gonna be a really good boost to your head stops. After you get your basic PT gear, I would recommend you to focus on your soul next. If you went for the Shadow Tiger build, I would recommend you to go for the short soul. If you went for the Dragon build, I would recommend you to go for the long soul. Next, you want to get your Vortex gear. Most important items to get are Ancestral Soul Badge and Aran's Mystic Badge. You can get Ancestral Soul Badge by fusing Glory and Alluvian Soul Badge, but you need Divine Greystones for that. You also want to get your 8-set Vortex and Aran's for even more DPS increase. With Ancestral Soul Badge, your rotation for Shadow Dragon becomes Chuck Bomb, into Blue Buff, into Shadow Kick, into Venom Slash, into RMB hold for 10 seconds, into Chuck Bomb, into Venom Slash, and repeat. It is also gonna be the rotation for Shadow with the new bracelet that we'll get in the future, but you will need the Soulburn for that. As for Shadow Tiger build, your rotation stays the same as the last one I showed, which is Chuck Bomb, into Blue Buff, into Shadow Kick, into Venom Slash, into RMBF, into Chuck Bomb, into Venom Slash again. And repeat. My opinion and summary about Shadow build. Shadow Dragon build is way better for the party play, or rather with Warlock's Soulburn, but Shadow Tiger is better if you like it. About Lighting versus Shadow comparison overall, Lighting build will always have more burst than Shadow, but only if you don't have Soulburn. With Soulburn, Shadow burst is a bit higher. If it comes to constant DPS, Lighting will always win versus Shadow, but with the new bracelets that we will get, Shadow deals pretty much the same DPS as Lighting while you have Soulburn. If you can choose only one element as an assassin, always go for Shadow as it's easier to play, less ping dependent and less situational for most of the dungeons. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments or join my Discord channel and message me over here. Stay awesome and I wish you have a great day.